Hi, I'm Jay,
And I'm Aaron.
and you're listening to episode 71 of the Salty Mother Clutchers podcast.
All right, here's the thing. The thing about not drinking is that it takes the pressure off of a lot of things. But I was thinking about how it takes the pressure off, like the hurry, when you're on a motorcycle trip.
When we are on a motorcycle
When we're
trip.
on a motorcycle trip. So like get on the bikes, we pack everything up, we get on the road and we're going for like 12 hours or whatever, right? And at like the 6 hour mark, we start to wonder how much longer do we have enough time to get to a liquor store before it closes? Yeah, like or alternatively, did I leave enough space in a saddlebag, or did I bring an extra bungee cord in order to strap booze on here? Because there ain't no fucking way I'm checking into a campsite or wherever the hell we're going to sleep and be stranded without liquor.
It's kind of like traveling with a prescription. Like it's a essential thing that you must have. Like there's no questioning it. Like you have to take that fucking shit.
Yeah.
You can go without a toothbrush, maybe. You can go without extra pairs of underpants, but you have to take your prescription or else you're fucked.
Yeah.
So we planned our trips around booze.
Like an important, a very key thing on every day of a trip for us was negotiating how much booze we had left, how much we had to drink tonight in order to not have to take it with us tomorrow. And then tomorrow, where were all the liquor stores that we were going to meet with along the way and which one we had to stop at. It was like, people like will think about gas stops.
Yeah.
But we were equally thinking about liquor stops.
Gas and booze stops.
And to clarify, like, we were never drinking and driving. We weren't drinking on the road. We just needed to have the booze for when we got to the destination. And that takes a lot of brain space.
Yeah.
Like a lot of brain space.
You remember like whenever we were in Salem, we had like one of the worst riding days on this trip.
Yeah.
Coming back from New York.
And it was so fucking stressful.
It was so stressful. We got super lost. You were leading, got lost. I was leading, got lost. And then like we eventually found where we were going. But like we got to the Airbnb.
Yeah.
Safe and sound. And we wanted nothing more than to get off the road. But we had another crucial mission.
Which was to get back on the road.
Which was to go find booze.
Yeah.
In a town where like, I guess they don't drink in Salem. There was like no liquor store.
There was no liquor store. We found a corner store that had booze, but didn't have liquor. It had beer.
It had just beer.
And maybe some coolers or something,
Yeah.
but it just had like beer. What I truly needed that night, air quotes, was an extremely large bottle of whiskey or rubbing alcohol. But I really wanted booze. Yeah, that was really weird actually. And so we had a rough day and we got to where we were going, had to like unload the bikes. I think we were like, that was like the worst day on our marriage. We were like, I was fucking screaming at you.
Well, you always scream at me though.
That's not true.
I always feel like I'm getting screamed at.
Oh my God, no, that's not true. Thanks a lot. Anyway, but yeah, we had like this like crazy pressure on us, like not only to like get to this town, which we thought was going to be our fastest riding day.
We planned
just
it to
heading
be a
from
short
New
day,
York, or like from Brooklyn.
so we could walk around, do some shit, drink our faces off.
See Salem get loaded, and it just was not. That was not in the cards for us.
No.
And that whole like need for booze just put this like whole other like strained element on that day that was already like a rough day.
Yeah, but we couldn't not do it.
No.
Like it wasn't an option.
Yeah, out of the question.
It's like once we get off the bike after a long ass fucking day,
Yeah.
unload all of our shit so we have room for booze.
Yeah.
And then we have to go find it. We have to go on this mission in this town to get lost and go find.
Like we spent like at least an hour lost in Salem.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've been to
And
Salem
whatever the
before.
adjacent city is to our town, that like they're divided by like a water or something like
I
that.
don't know.
I vaguely remembered looking
Yeah.
at the map being like, all these roads should connect. They do not.
They do not. And all the road signs had different names from the Google
Yeah.
maps, which that was fucked up. But anyway, like we were already lost. And on that trip, like that was a big trip to New York. And it was like, we didn't really have space on our bikes, any of us.
No.
Really for anything other than our shit. So we had to get where we were going to unpack. That's like, yeah, that is like a lot of fucking pressure, man.
Yeah. And that's, that's the large part of most of our motorcycle trips. Is
Yeah.
like planned around, like you said, we're either planning stops to pick up booze when we get there.
Yeah.
Or like even if we're like playing it by ear and we just go to a place and then we unpack, we set up our tents, whatever we're doing, then we're like, oh great. We know exactly what we're doing next. There's no asking, there's no questioning. We are getting on the bike and we have to go find booze.
Yeah.
That's just what you do.
Like, and then food.
Maybe food.
Maybe food. But like definitely need to find booze. And like, yeah, and then the whole like stupid element of being strategic about like how much booze do we need for tonight? Realistically, how much are we gonna drink tonight? And
Yeah.
then because we can't take this shit tomorrow. So trying to be like strategic about like what size bottle do we need? How many bottles do we need? Like,
Yeah.
oh my
Especially when
God.
you're crossing the border too, because they're shitty like that.
Yeah.
They're shitty with that stuff.
Like, oh my Jesus. I remember like going on like so many trips that like I used to have saddlebags on my other bikes, right? And like I would pack for trips and on purpose leave a whole saddlebag empty because it carried a dozen beer and a quart of whiskey.
Yeah.
Like it probably would have carried a 40, but like a dozen beer and a quart of whiskey were reserved in this empty bag that I'm traveling with so that at any point in time to make my day easier, I can buy it and put it in there.
And just slide it in without fussing with anything.
No bungees, no nothing. We're just gonna whoop right in the suitcase.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I can't remember, was it that trip or something? I remember coming back through Quebec or New Brunswick or something like that with the the purple lunch bag
Cooler
we
thing.
used to ride with.
Yes. My oil bag.
But that was full of beer on the backrest.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just thought of that.
Was that I was like, was that on the trip back when we got back into Canada, New Brunswick or something, you had like beer explode.
Okay, yeah, it was that same trip then.
You had beer explode on the bike.
Yeah.
It just exploded.
Oh yeah, so that was our American beer then. Because that would have been coming over the border.
That's funny.
But anyway, beer's so cheap in America too.
I don't even remember anymore.
I can't remember the prices,
Isn't that-
but it was like half the price of what it is here.
Isn't that a thing? Like Canadians are like, yeah, but Americans drink like water for beer and it's cheap as anything, but it's just basically fucking piss beer water.
Well, it is piss beer water. But like but when you're trying to say like a Molson Canadian and like Bud Light are different in any way whatsoever, like fuck off.
Yeah.
That's the exact at that point, like you might as well be sober. You might as well just drink water.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, you could drink well, actually like going on those long rides, like part of the fun was even if you rode like 12 hours and then you're getting in a hotel, you're not setting up tents, you're not doing anything. You're literally just like getting off the road long enough to sleep.
Yeah.
Probably guzzle down 3 beer immediately, enough to get a buzz on or something,
Yeah.
then fall asleep. Like it's just whether it's that or the opposite where your destination is like a bike festival or a rally or something, like either way, like booze is the destination.
Yeah.
Right?
Like for sure.
Yeah.
And when you really think about like that booze element, like you said, like you get off the road, not like we, but get off the road and you have enough time to like literally jump in the bed, like throw on some stupid TV show and fall asleep.
Yeah.
And it's like you guzzle 3 beer And maybe you don't even get to like feel the effects of it because you're already that exhausted you're asleep.
Yeah.
So it's like, actually, what is the point? Like,
Yeah.
what is the, you're not like fucking partying. Like, you're not
Yeah.
doing anything fun. You're just literally like having a beer basically to like hydrate and then go fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then
and you
tomorrow-
still had to go buy that beer the second you got there.
Yeah.
Unpack your stuff, and go hit the town and go find the nearest liquor store.
And if you're lucky, you wake up with no hangover and then you do the same thing again. Even if the destination though is an event though, it's like you get to the destination and you're gonna like drink, and someone might argue like if you're not drinking it's gonna be boring. But like if you think about like what you're actually doing at these events, like walking around and watching people be idiots, it's like you could actually be sober and walk around and watch people be fucking idiots, and that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like, or it's not funny and it's really, really sucks. It really sucks. And then you're like, oh, it's not all that.
Yeah, I see both sides to that. Like, you definitely, when you are looking at people through a sober lens, you really are like, it's, you know, corny to say, but like you really are looking at people going like, you know, gross.
Yeah.
Like these people are acting like fucking idiots.
Yeah.
And like, I know that's just like sober people talk, but like it actually is true when you see how these people are actually acting and what they're acting like.
Yeah. And
Like-
like what they're saying, what they're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
And being, especially having been in those positions before where like you think you're doing cool shit and you think that you're acting like a certain way and you are having fun, but you actually look like a fucking idiot.
Yeah. And
Like-
yeah. And have you ever been drunk and watching people do these things and say these things? And then you're just like, oh my God, cringe. That person's a fucking idiot. And like
Yeah.
you're drunk.
But you're doing those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the flip side to that is, yeah, instead of cringing at everything around you, you could just be drunk and have fun and then not worry about it. Because like these people that are being cringy and shitty, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And that's the best part about drinking is like
Yeah.
not giving a shit.
Oh,
right?
fuck yeah. That's like the best part.
But it's like there's so much about like what's attractive about motorcycling and like the risk-taking behavior and like the fun of it that is also there in drinking.
Right.
It's like you do it because fuck it. You're
Yeah.
gonna, because like YOLO factor, like you're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
It's fun, I guess.
Yeah.
I think drinking can be just as fun as motorcycling. They're very much like the same reward, you know what I mean? We're attracted to motorcycling for the same reasons we're attracted to drinking.
Okay. Yes.
Like
that makes
we're
sense.
looking for like a fuck it, who cares, like YOLO. We're looking for socialization, we're looking for adventure, we're looking for all these things.
Yeah.
And like that's why you drink.
Yeah.
Like is to do that stuff. So like in a way, like it makes real good sense why, you know, booze and motorcycles are a good marriage.
Yeah. You know, I guess I think of booze in another way too, is like alcohol for me is like, has always been like a way to like slow the fuck down, calm down, slow down, and in some cases stop. So like, you know, the reward at the end of a riding day is your alcohol, which means that you can no longer ride today. Like now you're done. It's stopped. It's
done.
over, and you can chill and you can like
Yeah.
just like calm the fuck down. And
There's no surprises once you are done for the day and you're drinking. Like there's no one being like, hey, want to go here? Want to do this?
Yeah.
Want to do this? Like, no, I didn't plan for that. And now I can't.
now I can't. And that's a great excuse for people like us who don't really want to be social in the first place. So like it's I think like a challenge is like navigating that in the way where like you like, so as a very sober person without cracking the bottle, you go, okay, stop, calm down, it's over, chill out, right? It's like, ooh, that's the hard part. It's all mental, right? Like, I mean, some of it is physical, but like there is like the mental part where you're just like, I'm done riding today and it's done. It's over. This is like, now I can chill the fuck out because I don't have to have the pressure of doing anything else. It's over. I don't actually need to like crack a beer or have a shot to like say like that is like what signals it's over. It's like basically you pull the key out of the bike and you go, I have decided I am a full-on grown-up adult. It's over.
I decide. That should be a reason
People
enough.
are like, oh, you're sober. We can go somewhere else. We didn't have a drink yet. And I'd be like, or I don't want to.
Yeah. But have you ever been like in a situation where you get to where you're going, you're doing the thing, you slam back, like a beer is not too bad, 2 beer, not too bad, but you're having a couple shots, you're done, and then you're like, fuck, someone invites you to do something, you're like, actually, I really do want to go to the beach, or I do want to go to this place, and you're like, fuck, like how long do I have to wait until this is okay?
And then you can't, and then you just can't.
Yeah.
Because you've gone too far.
Once you're not relying on booze to make those decisions for you, and like the responsibility is on you to say yes or no, and you have to be accountable for that, for those decisions. Like, yeah, I want to stop riding. No, I don't want to stop riding. I want to go do this. I want to go do something else.
Yeah.
It can be as freeing as it is, as the booze can be for like getting you off the hook.
Yeah.
Because like there's definitely situations where, especially in the last year with us, like where we've been like late at night doing nothing really.
Yeah.
And like we would be doing nothing and like we can be like, fuck it, you want to go somewhere and do something.
Or it'd be like, shit, if we had have like, I mean, this is like a very boring thing, but like shit, if we had have like done a run to Canadian Tire to grab XYZ today, then we don't have to do that like rushing around tomorrow. And hey, I got free time right now. I'm just going to turn on the TV. That fucking rules. Another like example of that's been like a huge part of our life too, is like we've actually trained ourselves to start recording the podcast early in the day so that we can do it like sort of sober. Because we always do it on a Sunday. Sunday's day off, right? So like for me, I'm a hairstylist. So Monday I'm off, but Sunday is like my Saturday night. So it's like, I'm going to start drinking at like 12 bells. Like as soon as it hits noon, I'm drinking. So like,
listen to season 1 and season 2 of the podcast just to know like that we can be pretty sauced pretty early.
So like we would probably start the podcast before we would start it with like a shot and we'd crack a beer.
Yeah.
And like, that's like at whatever time, like lunch that we start recording.
And the second we stop recording, we immediately have a shot.
Yeah, sometimes it's waiting here on the desk.
Yeah.
And then we go to carry on with our day, which that would typically involve the bottle of whiskey.
Oh, yeah.
And many beers. And then like here you're talking about motorcycles for like 45 minutes or whatever. And it's just like, fuck, like it's literally 1 p.m. It's like 25 degrees out. Like it's fucking beautiful. Like we have the day off. We could go on that ride that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And we'd be like, can't, drunk.
Yeah.
Drank too much. And so like here we thought like we were having this like great liberated time where we got to be grown-ups and home and start drinking at any fucking time we want and have fun and record a podcast.
It's like
and it's like
every day.
Then the podcast, we'd be done recording and be like, well, we can't go anywhere and we can't do anything. Well, actually, we kind of wasted a day.
Yeah.
And so for some reason, we have programmed ourselves that we still record earlier in the day, which like we could do that now at like 9 at night, which would be really good for our interviews with the West Coast besties. But
yeah, but if I'm no longer drunk at 9 o'clock at night or passed out or something, my brain is still shut off like for the 6-7 hours prior to that.
But like, that's just like another like example of like that weird, like it's kind of like you don't realize it until you realize it.
Yeah.
And it was like, we were having like fun, but like we couldn't have any more fun than the amount we were having in that moment. There was no switching gears and doing something like else. It was like, fuck, now we're kind of trapped in this boozo land.
Yeah, like when I was saying earlier about motorcycles and booze, like we are attracted to those two things for a lot of the same reasons.
Yeah.
And they both can be equally as addictive, I think.
Yeah.
But I think what was happening, especially in our lives, like the more, because we live in the country too, so like we're pretty isolated,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But like we were leaning more on alcohol than riding. We would ride, 12 hours in a day and then drink at night for a few hours until we passed out. And we'd be pretty tired from riding anyway.
Yeah.
And then it turned into we might go ride for 30 minutes to an hour to the liquor store, come back and then drink for 12 hours.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like that was becoming more the norm than the
Yeah.
opposite.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you gotta put a pause on this and like kind of reflect on some things. But
Oops.
oops.
Whoops. When we were getting ready to record this and we were like trying to think of like some key points of like what we were going to say and what we were feeling and how we were going to express ourselves in a very sober way. And one of the funny things that we wrote down was, why YOLO Moto and not Boozo? And so I think all that means is like basically everything we just said. It's like the thing about like motorcycling is it's very YOLO. Like
Yeah.
we've talked about this so many times about like the risk factors, the kind of reckless behavior, the like even just like down to like, fuck it, I'll drop the money because I want a motorcycle, right? And just like kind of making like some sort of reckless decisions because motorcycling comes first because it's just wild and adventurous and freeing and whatever, right? And like motorcycle culture and like alcohol culture are just like best friends.
Yeah.
Like they are just the best of friends. And like, yeah, you can't and you should never drink and drive, but like those two communities are like best friends.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a weird like mind fuck to be like, I'm still very YOLO Moto, but like, how am I not YOLO Boozo? Or how come I won't be YOLO Boozo?
Yeah.
Arguably, I YOLO Boozoed too much.
You YOLO Boozo too much. So now you need to up your YOLO Moto to make up for the YOLO Boozo.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, a couple things. And like, I don't want to get too like emo on shit, right? Or too dark or whatever,
Yeah.
But it's like, I think, and this speaks kind of to what Bruce was saying on the podcast on the last episode.
Yeah.
And it might just be a queer thing or it might just be a me thing, but I'm sure there's other folks out there too that like a lot of the attractiveness of motorcycling, I didn't think it was cool. I didn't think it looked cool. We've talked about that before.
Right.
But like at the time, like I literally had a death wish.
Yeah.
Like I didn't give a fuck. So I was going to have as much fun, ride as recklessly, as quickly as I possibly could. And like, if I survived, great. If I got hit by a bus, great. Lovely.
Yeah.
So I saw booze as pretty much the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And like not even lying like to myself. Like that's actually what I thought. Like, if I thought my drinking was getting out of hand like 15 years ago, I was like, well, fuck it. I could hang myself or I could fucking party for the next 20 years and die that way.
Yeah.
That's way more fun, in my opinion. So there's a lot of that element to, and like I said, that could be like a part of the queerness and transness and stuff. And just, that's, you're left with very few options. So you think,
Yeah.
until you actually go looking for them. So I don't really have an answer to your question of like, what do I think about YOLO Boozo? Because like, I do think
like
it is.
why one and not the other?
Yeah. I think if anything, it puts the question into me more like, do I actually want to take the risk to ride motorcycles more?
Right.
It's like, since coming out and since like, building new friendships and relationships with people that I actually really love, it's like, I'm finding that enjoyment out of life
Right.
So it's like I'm a little bit more cautious with riding. So we buy protective gear. We are doing a little bit more stuff as we get older.
Yeah.
I know this is very emo, but like, but that's the reality of it.
I think it's so like it's so relatable. I can relate to that so hard. And since we're in like the darkness, it's like
the darkness.
since we're in the darkness, like I remember a few years ago, I was really depressed. Look back, you can always look back and be like, I was pretty fucking depressed. And it was all, it was all relating to some like serious grief stuff. And I remember saying to you, essentially for the last, 8 years, I'm going first.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going first. Like I can't deal with this grief. So one, I can drink more and numb that out a little bit, which might actually make me go first. And it was just like, I have to go before that cat, that dog, you, and then like, the last year we lost fucking half our animals.
6 pets.
Which is fucking warped. And then I did that in a very sober way, which why would someone do that to themselves? I don't know. But, it's like, the booze didn't fix it by any means. And I think like the relatable part there is that like we're married and we live together and we love together and whatever. But like we are also individual people and we're also going through our own mental issues. Issues. I don't want to say that, but we're going through like our own thoughts, right? And it's kind of funny, strange, not funny, haha, that like you have to question like how YOLO do you go? I'd say that there was like, I don't want to say death wish, but like there has been a death wish here for both of us for quite a while.
Yeah.
So, motorcycles make
with a smile.
Motorcycles make a lot of sense, right? Booze makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Making like
life is terrible.
Stupid decisions makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And all it really does is create more problems.
It really, really does. And like, we don't want this episode to be like too dark and too shitty.
Yeah.
At the same time, also don't want to be like sober preachy about it too, right?
No.
But like booze definitely made everything worse.
Yeah.
And like that was the plan.
Yeah.
Like, so like, hooray. Like it worked.
You did it. It worked.
We won.
What did you win?
Yeah. Like if life's going to be terrible, like I'm going to do it terrible and drunk. Well, congratulations. That's exactly what you did.
It's exactly terrible.
Exactly. So if anything, like having a sober mind has been like, it's been enlightening to like see things for how they are.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that's just bullshit that all sober people are going to say, like whether it's off of drugs or booze or whatever.
Yeah.
But it really puts things into perspective, and it even puts weird things into perspective.
Yeah.
Like I would blame a lot of my like weirdness and quirkiness and stuff to just like how much I hated life and how punk or goth I was, or some version of like how much booze and drugs I've done, like, and I would make that account for how weird I ended up. But
I'm
like,
laughing at you because I'm like, you're so fucking weird.
I know. And like, but I didn't know that. I was just like, oh, that's just all this shit that I do.
Right.
And like, now that I'm like a year sober, it's like, no, fuck, dude. Like,
yeah, no.
Like, you're fucked to the core. Like, this shit is like for real weird. So like, it's been kind of fun to like experience those thoughts and those perspectives that like, yeah, I'm actually that weird.
I love that. I love that for both of us because I think we both discovered that we were like weird.
Yeah.
It's like we knew we were weirdos, right?
Yeah.
But it was just like, yeah, like you do have to blame a lot of that on like being intoxicated.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like,
Well, that's what people tell you too, right?
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, once you get a clear head, you'll blah 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 blah." But it's like, no, dude. All that happened when I got a clear head is I realized how fucked I actually am.
I realized that in my head, I'm way weirder than I thought I was.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cute. That's really cute for us.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a funny thing. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Just
go
at
ahead.
the thought of like,
What?
you know, now people can actually call us up, be like, "Oh, they're doing this fucking weird shit," and like, "Oh, and they're sober."
I was
Like-
gonna say this is really weird for me because aside from like some very like key close relationships I have, like very close friends, it's like I've never come out as sober.
Oh yeah.
I have not told
Whoops.
anybody that I'm sober. And
I
like
don't tell anyone I'm
so-
trans either.
you know, well, you're cis.
I'm
But it's
cis.
like, I'm like, I've kept this to myself because I'm angry. I have some like feelings, right? I'm feeling some feelings. And it's like, I've realized like exactly who my friends are.
Oh yeah.
That is sobering to realize who your friends are and who they aren't. And so I've kept a lot of things to myself because there's people that are air quotes friends that I don't want them to know shit about my life. They don't care. They have not been there for me, like whatever, right? So I've kept this adventure to myself and to us and to some like very like great friends who have been fucking amazing and never had a problem and never questioned it, you know? And it's just like, I decide to let the world know through a podcast. Happy 1 year sobriety anniversary. You weirdo.
That's very nice. But you know what fucking sucks?
What fucking sucks?
Men.
You can't say that. You can't say
I
that.
can't say that without some explanation,
Okay.
probably. But I was trying to pinpoint like this version of sucks in my head. Are you okay?
I almost made water come out my nose. You know what fucking sucks? Men!
Man, you know how
elaborate.
I know? Because I used to be one.
Okay.
Wow.
So anyway.
Okay.
Whoa. Okay. Well, yeah.
I was
please.
just thinking of this version of a motorcycle person that I fucking hate. And then, like,
motorcycle.
I was like, what is it about this type of person that like just makes that person be so fucking shitty? And it's not just men. It's straight cis men,
Okay.
which I can say that comfortably knowing that that's about like 1/4 of our podcast listeners or less.
Okay,
Probably
yeah.
less. Than
Yeah.
that.
Because the reality is, 75% of the motorcycle community is these guys.
Yeah.
And that they don't,
That's
this is
the-
not for them.
That's not that's not this
They're not
podcast.
here. They're not in this room.
Yeah. Like primarily our listenership is queer or women. Like straight cis women.
Yeah.
Like so like straight cis dudes, there's a couple. We've had a couple on the show.
I'm like, is there any?
And I'm still questioning
Oh,
you
yeah.
folks. Just so you know.
And we're here for you
Yeah.
when it's your time.
Yeah. You have our support.
Yeah. Yeah. So not you. This statement's not about you.
Yeah. Well, if anyone wants to come out on the podcast, like we'll have you back on for your coming out story,
Cute.
right?
Yeah.
Like, great.
Yeah.
That'd be our bonus Patreon material. Like find out who came out this week.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if that Russian guy actually came out. I don't know. Subscribe to the Patreon. Find out. Hear it straight from the source.
There's a lot of mullets in that family, so
There's an awful lot of mullets. Yeah.
that's
Pretty dykey.
non-binary at least.
At the very least. So back to why men suck. I'm like last night we were coming home from a concert that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And like there's not a motorcycle. But like we got passed on the highway by this like douchey muscle car.
Yeah.
And
Hand painted with sponges.
yeah, and like it doesn't take a brainiac to know that that person fucking sucks.
And that they're a man.
Yeah, and that they're a cis straight man. Like that's what that car screams.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to think about every motorcycle person that I don't like, whether it's a sport bike or, you know, cruiser dudes, dad bikes, like old fucking vintage bike snobs, like everything.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, what fucking sucks today? And then like fuck it. What's in common with all these threads is it's cis fucking straight dudes. And it's like, you fucking suck, man. Like, stop being so shitty. Like, it's everything we've ever said on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, masculinity bullshit. It's like gaslighting. It's know-it-all fucking horse shit.
Yeah.
It's self-entitlement. It's like
Yeah.
fucking superiority complex, narcissism. Like, it's everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is the fucking source.
Yeah.
And like, if I have any advice to any straight cis dudes, go suck a dick.
I think I'm going to be so comfortable on this stool. Ooh, baby.
Je t'aime beaucoup.
Oh.
And you're listening to episode 71 of the Salty Mother. You're looking at me like I'm doing it wrong, but I'm doing it right. You're staring at me like Zach from Love is Blind.
Paterka's been mentioned on the podcast last 2 episodes.
It's the Paterka show.
It's the Paterka show.
Is that making any sense?
No.
Oh, never mind.
Of the Salty Dick Sucker podcast.
Salty Dick Sucker. It's hot in here. It's hot in here. I'm sweating. Maybe you have OCD. You should get that looked into.
I'm just a Capricorn and I have firm fucking rules.